What's going on, YouTube, man? It's your boy, the Gym Slasher, back at it again. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the thumbnail, the notification. Give me some unconditional love, and I give it right back. With that being said, you read the thumbnail. Uh, don't stop your competitive drive. Don't stop being hungry, right? I think it's important that we talk about the journey to your success, and that's very important. Obviously, it's very imperative that we explain that and unpack that in terms of the mindset of there, right? We tend to not talk as much about when you do get there, right? You won that proverbial championship, you hit that goal, and I've said this in other videos in terms of now what, right? But that's not what this one is in terms of mindset. I've said this in my Instagram, so that's where I'm kind of getting into this. Do you want to be hungry? Do you want to maintain that hunger? Or do you like being well fed in terms of life is good? You got your money, you got your success, you winning, right? And I've said it's a combination of both. You don't want to lose your hunger. Obviously, you want to be well fed, but you don't want to lose your hunger. But if I had to make the choice, right, it would be to make sure I'm still driven, I'm still competitive, I'm still locked in. The perfect example that I gave to this is with Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach. If you don't know, there was two boxers over the past weekend. Look at the fight. I'm sure you can see the highlights. The interesting dynamic in that, and you see it in boxing and one-on-one fights as opposed to team sports, right? But you see it in team sports, but I'll make an example on the team sport as well. But when a boxer such as Gervonta Davis and his success, his fame, fortune, notoriety, his trajectory of a Hall of Fame boxer, right? And then you get Lamont Roach, who is not well known, who's not well received in terms of we don't know who you are, right? So he's up and coming. But if you ask him, hey, I'm just as good as Gervonta, right? But he just don't have the cachet. And you see those two dynamics meeting in the ring, a fighter who's well fed, competitive, and a fighter who's driven and hungry. And you always that they play on these on movies, right? The guy who's overlooked, who's overshadowed, who's wanted to prove that he belongs, and then you got the arrogant or the cocky or overconfident or confident, right? Fighter that just like, oh, I'm gonna get him in, I'm gonna get him out, right? You can see the betting line. If you those who participate in bets, you can see the betting line, how high up it was for Gervonta, because I think everybody that was watching that fight live, particularly, was Gervonta a slow up. He'll take his time, and then probably by the seventh or eighth round, ninth round, he's gonna get him out of there. Well, you've seen quickly by the fifth or sixth round of that respective fight, Gervonta knew this is going to be a long haul. This is going into the 12th round. He's not going to be an easy out, right? So when you've seen that shift, you see Gervonta Davis hunger has to kick in now, because this guy's wanting to eat all his lunch. You get what I'm saying? He's ready to fight. He's hungry. He wants the championship. He wants everything that comes with it, right? Which ultimately ended in a draw between them, because Gervonta came on late, and obviously there was some controversy there with the knee and all of that. So I'm not going to get into that, but it is what it is. But to illustrate that, you see the difference. You have to stay in that hunger phase. You have to stay in that competitive phase. You have to stay in that driven, even when you reach the pinnacles of success, even when you reach those championships, that the adulation. Stay driven. Don't forget. Don't just sit on your accomplishments. Reconstruct your goals and keep going. But if you don't, you can be complacent, and you can tend to have poor habits of copying that complacency. Thus, you can start losing and diminishing your success. keeping that competitive drive makes you still driven in other achievements and other successes, even though that one success that you put that on the side, and then you look at other things to achieve in success. I've given the example of Michael Jordan, right? He's competitive. He was competitive in sports. He got out of sports and he's still competitive, right? He's not treating it as well fed. That doesn't mean to not appreciate what you have accomplished. That doesn't mean to not sit back and go, dang, I've seen my journey and now look at me where I'm at. But you also got to train the body to say, okay, we still got to be locked in, right? We still got to be ready to compete, because we don't know who may want to try to take or who may try to usurp where I'm at. Jordan was making up people at points in times, and making up things that he was upset with just to keep his mind and keep his competitive spirit. In team sports, you have what we call trap games, right? There's a week that you're about to play a big game at the end of the week, or on a Sunday night, a Saturday night, a prime time. But right before that is a game that is going to be locally televised, right? And it's, some people are going to be watching, but it's still a big game nonetheless, right? But it's a trap game because you're not paying attention to that when you're overlooking, you're looking into the next one, right? So then you're not being competitive. You're not being as competitive. You're not being as driven in that game because you don't see that one as significant. But to that team, you are their top game. You are their championship. You are their primetime game for them. So they're locked in on you. They're geared in on you. So how do you stay competitive and stay locked in on that game that you're not really that into, and then you're overlooking and seeing that game that's going to get those competitive juices in there? The way you do that is you have to be locked in the whole time. And it's very difficult to do. It's easier said than done, because your brain wants to tell you we're good, we're fine, we're winning, it's okay. To get your brain to say, yeah, we may be good, I got you, yes, but we got to stay locked in. We got to stay driven. We got to stay ready. We got to stay on this. We got to beat them, and then we're going to beat that team that's over here, right? To do that requires a lot of mental repetition, a lot of mental game to stay locked in, to stay competitive, because your brain naturally wants to sit back on their achievements, right? They want to sit back on their success. So with that being said, stay locked in, stay competitive, stay driven. Don't just hang on your laurels, enjoy them, right? But don't get too fat to where you can't compete, because there's always somebody else that's trying to get where you get, or there's always another level, and it shouldn't be daunting for you mentally. It should be exciting to want to keep pushing at it, want to keep driven, to want to stay competing, right? So with that being said, who are you? What is your mission? I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Thank you for checking in yet again. With that being said, deuces.